We're going to go ahead and get started with head coach Jay Johnson. Ari Kozlow, first question.
I'll show me your quick thoughts on the current run of the women's basketball team.
Yeah, you're stealing my thunder. That's how I wanted to start and just congratulate them. What a special accomplishment. And it was really fun to be able to watch the game last night. We're obviously busy this time of year, so I've been able to catch bits and pieces of their games, but really locked in on that. And Ari McDonald, wow, like I don't even know what to say to get to that level that they're playing at right now. You need some players to have special performances, and that was amazing. And really happy for Coach Barnes and Salvo and their team and their whole crew represent our university in a first-class manner, and to get to the top, the pinnacle is pretty special, and we'll be pulling for them next weekend for sure as well.
Next question, Michael Lev.
Do you ask or request your players to watch the games if they're free to do so?
You know, yesterday was kind of a strange day. We had a blended off day because next Sunday will be our off day this week with Easter Sunday. So we had some guys in here and we're doing some very specific things and work, but we didn't mandate everybody come in. But they're very much in tune with our athletic department, and I think it's a cool thing about Arizona that the teams and the athletes really support each other, whether it's football, men's basketball, women's soccer. I know our players are very in tune with that and are very happy for their success. And I'm sure a lot of them were tuned into the game last night.
Sure. We've spent a lot of time talking about the development of the pitching staff, especially the young pitchers. Coming off a game like you just had, how does that affect their confidence level, and how do you kind of get that squared away, heading into the next time that they step onto the mound?
Yeah, I think confidence is a feeling, and something that we've been talking about is focusing on action, and some of them need to take some action towards improvement. And so that's kind of the message going into this week. We had a brief meeting yesterday and covered Sunday's game and showed them how just a few pitches maybe swung at bats in the opponent's favor, where if we executed a little bit better, then it would have maybe turned it in our pitcher and our team's favor. And so I wanted them, the guys that pitched Sunday, to meet with Coach Yeski and develop an action plan for the next couple days of what they can do on Tuesday, Wednesday, pregame Thursday, to put them in a better position the next time that they go out. And so that's really where we put our focus. Every pitcher on our staff should believe in themselves. We have terrific arms, in terms of velocity, breaking balls, all that type of things. And I think the difference in the guys that have ascended to the top versus maybe the guys that are struggling a little bit is probably what you said, Michael, in terms of confidence and conviction and how they throw their pitches. So I want them to go to work the next couple of days and then take the mound in their most confident, assertive, convicted fashion.
Sure. Preston and Vince both seem to have that conviction. They also have a lot of experience. How does it help you as a team, as a manager, to have two guys like that, where it doesn't really matter who pitches the 8th or the 9th or the 7th, and you have those sort of interchangeable parts?
It's a big deal, to have multiple guys to be able to do that. And, there's always, you have to finish it. And I've always believed the last 9 outs of a college baseball game are the hardest to get. So we always want to have one of them available for that. At the same time, the tipping point could come in the 4th, the 5th, or the 6th inning. And it also allows us the freedom to go to one of them at that point in time. And so that's, kind of how we'll proceed moving forward. I mean, we've used both of them, in the 5th or 6th inning, we've used both of them to finish. And I would assume that we'll continue to do that.
Next question, Ari Kozlow.
Jacob Berry is currently on an 8-game hitting streak, leading the Pac-12 in batting average and RBIs. Would you say that he's one of the top hitting freshmen you've ever coached, or is it too early to tell with that?
Well, I'm very impressed with him. I don't really get into the comparison thing because it doesn't have anything to do with getting better. I mean, the results speak for themselves. I look at some things a little differently too. I thought Sunday, I don't know how many hits he had Sunday, was one of his most impressive days. Oregon made some pitches, got him to 2 strikes a few times, but how he stayed in those at bats and fighting off some tough pitches. And then the second there was a little crack or a mistake, it was like double. And I think that's a sign of a great hitter. So to answer your question, he definitely is, on a track of being one of the best hitters on our team. And I think this is a really good team. And, I know he is impressed opposing coaches, and I've heard from them a lot relative to him. But we're just going to focus on getting better and taking quality at bats. I'm very impressed with his maturity and his poise and his just ability to focus on his task, which right now is taking a quality at bat.
Next question, Matt Moreno.
When we were talking to Chase on Friday night, he mentioned knowing that his role is to set the tone for the weekend as the Friday night starter. He seems to have a good demeanor for that. How important is that for a Friday night guy, and how much did you notice that as you were evaluating him to bring him here?
Well, I think it's kind of a twofold question. Number one, I mean, he's the best starting pitcher we've had here in a while. And so just his ability, just his raw ability gives us the best chance to win. And so you start there with a fastball up to 97, elite breaking ball, ability to throw a changeup. Now, what you're talking about, Matt, I think is really relevant. He has a competitive fire in terms of wanting to win, wanting to set a tone, wanting to really put our team in a position to be successful, that you really have to have if you're going to win the first game of a series in the Pac-12. And I think Chase brings all of those things into play. I've talked about his competitiveness. I mean, when there's a conditioning drill, he's not going to let anybody else win. And I think that speaks to that competitive nature that I'm talking about. And I think it sets a great tone for our team. I think it allows our team to play with great confidence. He pitches with great tempo. I don't know what the fielding percentage is behind him, but I would guess it's probably as good as any pitcher that we have because of his go get 'em, kind of nature in terms of how he controls the tempo of the game. And I've always felt like your number one starter and your closer, those guys just have to be different relative to their competitiveness and poise. And we definitely have that with Chase and with Preston and Vince on the back end of the game.
And then on Sunday, you talked about TJ Nichols' GPA. We talked to Daniel Susak after the game. He seems like another bright guy. How much do you value the baseball IQ side of things when you're evaluating your players and building your roster? And how much does that translate to maybe some of these guys getting on the field a little bit earlier?
I think the talent margin in the Pac-12 is really small. I think the people or the person separates what guys, take their talent and make it usable skill early in their career. And I think when you look at Daniel, you look at Jacob, you look at TJ, I mean, these are very high-end students, very high-end people. And what I mean by that is their character is really strong. You can coach them the way they need to be coached, and they respond in a fashion that is going to help them be successful. Then you add the physical talent to it. It's not a surprise that those guys are all successful. You don't always get everything you want in a player, and we're in a development-based business. And I don't come in with any notion that any of them are perfect, and those three guys aren't perfect either. But they have such a good foundation as a person, relative to their character, their work ethic, and their competitiveness. And then you put their God-given ability with it. That's why we're talking about them making a really positive contribution as a freshman. And, there's some guys out there across the country that talent-wise might match up with them that maybe aren't quite as good yet. And I always think it comes back to the person side of it. And we hit really good on those three guys. And it's why we had to battle the MLB draft to get them here. And we're certainly happy that they're all here.
Question back to Michael Lev.
What were the factors that led you to elevate Tanner Otremba into the starting lineup the last few days?
Well, we recruited Tanner because he's a really good player. I think a couple little history things on that is, when he committed to Texas Tech, I immediately kind of had this feeling in my pit in my stomach, like, man, we should have gone after this guy harder. Like it shouldn't have mattered what our outfield situation looked like at that time, which it's been good for years, which is kind of the reason why maybe we weren't as aggressive. And then he was in the transfer portal for all of about 9 seconds before I shot him an email, got his phone number, and gave him a call. So that gives you a little background on what I think of him and his talent, his ability. And I think the other thing that really stands out about Tanner is I mean, he knew coming in that we had good players, Dante Mack, Ryan, and it didn't dissuade him for a second. So I think that tells you a lot about his confidence. And then probably the most impressive thing is just the ability to stay with it and keep working. Over the last few weeks, we've been having some midweek inter squads with guys that needed at bats. And I mean, he's hitting the ball over the fence consistently. He made some nice swing adjustments, that I think helped him improve. But for me, it was more of the competitive nature that I knew that we were going to get. And, he got an opportunity, was ready for it. And I liked what he was bringing to our team. And when you have some depth like we do, you can make some of those kinds of moves. I've always felt with Tanner, like if we put him in with another 8 guys, we weren't going to drop off. It just, the timing of that and mixing and matching everybody was important to make sure that we hit that right. And we did. And I'm looking forward to him continuing to make a positive contribution.
Sure. Are you concerned at all about your depth on the position player side with, I guess, Blake and Tony having been unavailable lately because of their backs?
I don't like to use that word.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. No, it's again, it's being concerned is a feeling. And I mean, Arizona State, Cal, Washington State, whoever we have coming up, they're not going to be too worried about how we feel about things. We're going to prepare our team really, really well. The 12 guys, 14, 15 guys that are in there to be ready to play and be ready to compete. And when you have some good starting pitching, like we do, you have a good bullpen like we do, we're going to be in every game. And I have enough confidence in any grouping of position players that we put out there that they can execute. And I think that was well demonstrated this weekend. I mean, we've had other runs earlier in the season where, you mentioned Blake was really hot and playing well. And I mean, that transformed our team, at that time. I mean, that was really impactful. Tony's, made some nice contributions on both sides of the ball. And I don't think we're just limited to 9 or even 11. I think there's a good enough core there where you can mix and match and do some things to where we can still put some runs across the board and play good defense. And we'll just keep our focus on whoever's available, relative to COVID or injury, just keep getting them prepared to play because the position players have been playing at a really high level.
In that same vein, ASU lost 2 of their top starting pitchers to arm injuries, and it doesn't seem like it slowed them down at all. What do you make of their ability to overcome that and their team overall?
Yeah, it's an interesting, case study to lose, Eric Tolman, Cooper Benson, and Boyd Vanderkoy to Tommy John surgery in the span of 10 days. It's a blow. And, I commend their pitchers for stepping into those roles and throwing strikes and being competitive. That's what it's about. I mean, a lot of times it just takes an opportunity for somebody. And, some of those guys have taken advantage of that opportunity. In terms of their team, we didn't play last year just like the rest of the Pac-12, but it's a different looking team. I feel very familiar with them, through recruiting circles of the guys that make up, at least the top part of their lineup. And they're playing a good brand of baseball right now. And I'm really looking forward to this series. I know our players are. I think, when you look back at the COVID thing, there's a few things that were really disappointing about that, not getting to play them at home last year with the types of teams that both of us had. That was disappointing. So I'm sure, players, coaches on both sides will be really excited for the weekend.
Sure. And you're playing them 3 games up there, and then you have a game against them here a couple of days later. How did that kind of quirk of the schedule come about?
Yeah, the whole schedule this year, it was in flux. I mean, through January, middle of January, end of January, and, kind of slotting your midweeks at the right time. I personally just really wanted to have a midweek game that week because it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, and I didn't want to go all the way to the next Friday without playing. And we tried to, I think we had it scheduled earlier in March, but then the Frisco Classic got moved to Thursday and 4 games as opposed to, a 3 game starting on Friday. So we pulled it from there and then moved it to that Easter week. So we would have 4 games each week and not have a big gap in the schedule.
Next question, Rich Herrera.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
Hey, Rich.
Nice to see you.
too.
Can you talk about the Arizona State rivalry? I know in football how hot and heavy it is, and some of the other sports. How big is it for your baseball team when you play the Sun Devils?
I'll give you the boring coach answer that, we try to keep the opponent nameless and faceless. And I really believe that relative to the Pac-12. I mean, especially this year, everybody's got an old team. Every weekend is the same. You're going to have to play good to win against all 10 other opponents. But I think it's such a unique rivalry in college baseball when you look at the history and the tradition of both programs relative to on the field success, future major league players, the energy that both schools get behind baseball. I think we have, two of the top 3 fan bases in the Pac-12 at both of these places, and makes it really exciting. And, I remember, the first year we played them 5 times and had that series at home, and having 8,000 people here, it was like, this is awesome. It would be great if this is what every weekend in college baseball looked like. And so we're excited to get up there. It'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be great competition against a good team.
How important is it for you to have a nice crowd out when you come back on Tuesday? I know it's limited seating, but in order to have that home field advantage making some noise.
Huge. I mean, the energy in the ballpark, I don't even know how many fans we had this weekend, but when we got it rolling in Friday and Saturday, even Sunday's game a little bit, even those back and forth offensive game, it felt great to feel like there was a home field advantage and there was people in the ballpark, and this is the opponent that they tend to turn out for the most. And so get on the radio and get that word out there that Tuesday night, we need them here.
Well, absolutely do that. Is there one moment in this rivalry, a couple things that you think about since you've been coaching at Arizona when you take on the Sun Devils?
Yeah, 100%. There's probably 3 things that come to mind. Number one was that Saturday night game here, the first year when we went to Omaha. There was over 8,000 people here. We won a 4-2 game. Bobby Dahlbeck came in to close. Just a well-played game on both sides. And just kind of looking up in the stands going, whoa, this is awesome. Like, this is why I came here to coach. That's one that stands out. I think the second one that stands out is when we swept them in 2017 up there on the road. And I don't think that had been done in like 30 years, relative in, Arizona sweeping Arizona State at Arizona State. And I remember I was going recruiting the next day, so I was staying to fly out and just sitting there and like, man, that's really cool to be part of that kind of history and this rivalry. And then in 2018, Dante Williams, who's still on our team, walk-off hit, that kept us in the run for the NCAA tournament that year. And just how kind of back and forth electric that game was. And you look at all the players on both teams in that game that are now moved on to professional baseball. I mean, it was as high level as you get. So I think it's really cool. And I think our team will be in a good position to compete and have fun with this weekend.
Great. Thank you very much.
Are there any more questions for Coach Johnson? Great. Thank you, Coach. We'll be right back with Tanner Otremba. All right. Questions for Tanner Otremba, please raise your hand. We'll start with Michael Lev.
Hey there, Tanner. Coach Johnson was talking about your recruitment, and he kind of expressed some regret that he didn't go after you harder. Do you remember talking to him during that time? And I don't know, maybe somewhere in the back of your head thinking that you're going to end up at Arizona at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long process in high school being recruited and stuff. And obviously Arizona was a great place. And it didn't end up working out, but I'm super happy to be here now. Jay was always awesome when I talked to him in high school, and I always knew there was a respect there. So when he called me when I entered the transfer portal, I definitely knew, it was a good place, and I'm happy to be here. So.
Sure. Why did you decide to transfer, and then was Arizona appealing to you?
I ended up transferring just for a better opportunity than what I was in. Arizona was really appealing because just the team overall, that aspect, and just how important being a good teammate was, and the development that was explained to me through phone calls and stuff, which is huge. But yeah, definitely just remember looking at Instagram posts and just seeing how much of a team it seemed, and how close everyone was, which is very accurate.
Sure. So you mentioned, wanting an opportunity, and Jay said the reason maybe he didn't go after you that hard the first time is because he had a lot of outfielders. And when you came to the team now, still had a lot of outfielders, and you had to kind of patiently bide your time. How hard is it to do that, to maintain a positive attitude, to keep working, not knowing when that opportunity is going to come exactly?
I think as baseball players, we all want to play. I think everyone wants to see their name called and be on the field. But I think when you have a great group of guys around you, and it's pretty easy to keep a positive mindset. You're cheering the guys on the field because you want to go to war with them one day, and I think that's just the biggest thing is being positive. It can be easy when you're surrounded by others who are positive, that also want to work hard, even when they're not getting the opportunities as well. So.
Next question, Ari Kozlow.
Tanner, you had a few hits in Saturday's 15-2 win. How enjoyable is it to be part of a game like that where it seems like everything's clicking on all cylinders, especially against a tough opponent like Oregon?
It's a lot of fun. We definitely enjoy wins. I think it's fun when everyone gets involved. And yeah, it's a great time. And we just want to keep that going and keep clicking, like you said.
Next question back to Michael Lev.
So on the flip side of being patient, when you finally do get that opportunity, is it difficult at all to avoid trying to do too much, trying to impress, just trying to kind of stay in the mode of, like Jay always talks about, one pitch at a time?
Yeah, it definitely can be difficult because, like I said, you always want to, when you get in there, you want to stay in there. But Skip always talks to us about doing your job. And I think that's the biggest thing is when you go in, it's not about, am I going to hit a home run? Am I going to do this? It's just, hey, what's the situation and how can I help my team to the best of my abilities? And that's what Coach Johnson preaches all the time. So I think that's just the mindset for myself and others when we do get that opportunity, is to just do our job. And we know if we do our job, then that will ultimately benefit all of us in the long run.
Sure. How would you describe the challenge of playing left field at High Corbett Field?
It's definitely a big outfield. It's not easy, but just being able to communicate with other outfielders and stuff. We practice it a lot. A lot of good coaching, good drills. So it's definitely a challenge, but we definitely are prepared for it. So.
Sure. Anthony Bemboom is your cousin?
Yeah, we are relatives.
Are you close to him at all? Have you ever talked to him about just his big league experiences and so forth?
I have talked to him a couple times. Not much, just briefly. But yeah, I know a lot of his story and how he's been in the minors for quite some time, and then finally ended up making it up to the majors, which was awesome. So.
Sure. And you're a psychology major, is that right?
Correct.
What interests you about that field, and is there any element of that helps you with baseball?
Yeah, I think it's awesome because ultimately I want to end up helping others when I get older. But I think the mental aspect of psychology is really cool because psychology applies to all of us, whether that's baseball, on or off the field. So I like to use it a lot with off the field stuff, keeping a good routine, things like that, mental side of baseball, even if it is off the field, but then on the field too as well. Just things like staying positive and stuff like that. So.
Are there any more questions for Tanner? Great. Thank you, Tanner.
Thank you.
All right. Questions for Vince Finelli, please raise your hand. We'll start with Michael Lev.
Hey there, Vince.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you. So you take us back to that ninth inning on Friday. You come in, first pitch, home run. How do you process that? How do you keep it together in order to finish the game and complete the win?
Yeah, first off, I just missed my spot, left the fastball elevated, and Hall was a good hitter, and he got it out in front and hit one off Terry off me. But Coach Johnson always preaches to us about the next pitch. And as a closer, you have to have a really short mindset because a lot can change in 2 to 3 pitches. Coach Yeski always comes back and says to us, like, imagine if you could go back through your past season of the past games and change 3 pitches to go in your favor, how much different could that be? And so I kind of view it as a positive mindset. Obviously you're not going out there trying to give up home runs, but at the end of the day, it's a learning opportunity to kind of, for my next outing, trying to just focus on what I can control. And right in that 9th inning, I was just really focusing on what I could control. And that was the next pitch against Smith. And then I think it was Jovan as well.
Sure. How much do confidence and experience help you to navigate a situation like that?
I would say confidence is probably the biggest thing. Everyone gets knocked out from time to time. You get punched in the face. You can either lay on the mat or you can get right back up and throw another haymaker. That's kind of how I view pitching. You're not going to win every single pitch, but you're going to try your absolute best to win everything you got to do.
Do you ever have those kind of conversations with the younger pitchers on the team who are maybe struggling with their confidence a little bit from time to time?
Yeah, absolutely. During like these weekly practices before our series starts, I try and just reach out and see what the younger guys are working on. And most of it's mechanical, but I try and reach out through like mindset, and because I know there's a lot of adversity they're not used to. Most of these guys were like the top dogs of their state and like player of the year. So they're not really used to, giving up a hitter or two every inning or something like that. But I'm just trying to remind them, like, listen, if you make a mistake, you just got to move on, because there's no reason for you to keep all that negativity built up in you.
Next question, Ari Kozlow.
What have you seen from Chase Sosa so far this season? He's second in the Pac-12 in strikeouts, and it seems like he's kind of gotten the team off to a really good start each series, other than Oklahoma start, other than that one start. But what have you seen from him on the mound so far this season?
Consistency, a great competitor, and a great leader for our team. You see it every Friday out there. He goes out and competes till the very end. And honestly, it's just a great way to start off a series. And I wouldn't have anyone else to start out our series on a Friday night. But he throws all of his pitches for strikes. He's got great confidence, and he's very, very, very competitive.
Next question, back to Michael Lev.
That's a lot of varies right there. So with you and Preston, does it matter between the two of you, like who pitches the 7th, who pitches the 9th? You just sort of view it as that you guys are like tag team partners, kind of?
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot. Like, we don't really care who gets the 7th, 8th, or 9th. We just want to win. That's kind of the viewpoint, how we're getting down to it. We don't care about saves. We don't care about ERA. We just care about the wins and losses right now, and trying to help our team win no matter what.
Sure. On multiple occasions this season, I want to say maybe 3 times he's come in with the bases loaded, hasn't allowed any runs. I think he's stranded 16 of 19 inherited runners. What impresses you the most about him in those situations?
That's probably one of the hardest things to do as a pitcher, is come in bases loaded, nobody out. The Oklahoma game was probably one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen. And you can see it, but what you guys don't see is throughout the week how hard he's working. He's the first one in there, last one to leave sometimes. And it's really nice when you have somebody like, we're both 5th years, and so we've been through a lot here, and we've seen a lot of changes, and we're both changing as people as well. So it's kind of cool seeing, like, coming back every year, seeing how much, like, improvement wise, and we always go back and talk about certain things that we're working on.
Do you have any recollections of the last time you guys played ASU?
Yeah, it was at ASU, and I remember how loaded their lineup was.
Right. Yeah. And then the series didn't go the way that you had hoped. It was kind of a crazy game on Sunday, back and forth, a lot of runs, a lot of errors. Do you have any recollection of how mad Jay was after that Sunday game?
It was a 6-hour game, and we probably had a good talk to, or we got talked to after the game probably for about an hour and a half, because I mean, he was very disappointed with us, and I completely understand why. I mean, we didn't get the job done, and that's just the bottom line.
Sure. For someone like Tanner, who we just talked to, who's new to the program, or freshmen who are new, what, if anything, is different about the games against ASU?
I mean, as far as, I mean, it's not really that different because you're still playing the game of baseball. That's kind of how we view it, as it's just another game. But at the same time, people want to hype it up and make it bigger than it really is. So that's how you kind of just got to go about your business. It's just compete and control what you can control at that point.
Sure. Is there a different level of electricity in the building? Do you sense a heightened intensity or any kind of different atmosphere in those games?
I mean, there's definitely more people that'll come watch that game because it's, I mean, the state of Arizona, it's kind of a big deal. And I understand where they're coming from, and I want to win, trust me.
Are there any more questions for Vince? All right, great. Thank you, everybody. That's all we have for today.